I had fallen prey to the generalization that women don't want to know the truth, when it turns out that it's possible that both men and women don't want to know difficult things. In today's video, I want to talk about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Hi, my name is Omotayo. Welcome to my bed. Hi guys, this is In Bed with Omotayo, me. Welcome to my bed. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. On this channel, I talk about singleness and relationships. I talk about career, trying to figure out your path. So not really career, but kind of like that place in between where you're like, what am I supposed to be doing in this world? And I also share theories about God from my experience, and I try to use my own stories so that it's not like I'm trying to prescribe anything. Got it? Good. Oh, before we go on, this would be a great place to subscribe, so please tap that subscribe button. Now let's dive in. In today's video, I want to talk about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In fact, I have my trusted Bible right here beside me, from whence I can eke out some relevant Bible verses, like to give me the right perspective. Because we've all heard that there's a difference between fact and truth, right? But then how do we apply that to our lives? In fact, there may be a difference between what is factual, what is truthful, what is right, what is correct. There are all these different nuances, and they all come to play in our lives, the choices we make, and how we just kind of navigate life. So on Instagram the other day, if you don't follow me, please follow me on Instagram at In Bed with Omotayo. Anyway, so I shared a post where I was like, is it true that women really don't want to know the truth? Is it true that women don't like to hear the truth? Can we discuss this? Like, you don't really want to know when your husband is cheating. You don't really want to know when your boyfriend is being unfaithful. You don't really want to know those emotional truths. In fact, some women don't even want to know how the business is doing as long as the bills are paid. Like, wherever you get the money from, that's your business. Just make sure I can pay my children's school fees and buy diapers and slay on the ground. Now, after I shared that post, a couple of guys also commented and let me know that they also wouldn't want to know if their wives had crushes on other guys or all those other things. And I realized that, again, I had fallen prey to the generalization that women don't want to know the truth, when it turns out that it's possible that both men and women don't want to know difficult things. Now, in one of the comments, the guy said to me, he private messaged me, and he said something about when you know the truth and the maturity and the responsibility that comes with that information, it can be too heavy. You may not be there, you may not be ready, you may not be equipped to handle such a situation. And it was interesting because the context of maturity and responsibility were linked together. Another lady, she posted and said that knowing the truth means that you actually have to respond. Like, now you have the information, so you have the responsibility to do something about what you know. If you don't know something, then you are not responsible for any decisions you make after. Now, when it comes to relationships, I believe that the world, culture, society, your friendship groups, they put some kind of pressure on you to respond to something you know. And it's almost like what you do in response is a way of measuring your character or your value or the kind of person you are. Like, if you find out something bad happened, but you didn't do anything in response, then it's like you're almost as culpable as the person who did the thing that was bad in the first place. Now, this also kind of links to cancel culture, but I'm not going to go into that because that is more complicated and has more nuances than I'm ready or prepared to actually address in this video. Okay, so I'm giving a lot of kind of like theories and foundations, right? But let me give a simple example. When I was in university, I would sit down and talk to my friends. I mean, we were dating these guys who were just like, they didn't want to commit to us. They didn't want to be official. They wanted to be free to do whatever they wanted with other girls. But at the same time, they kind of kept us there, or rather, because nobody can hold you somewhere against your own will, right? We didn't want to leave because we were too invested in the relationship that we had built. We had built all these emotions and we had all these fantasies of, you get into school, you meet a nice guy, he's fine, he's cool, he's popular or whatever, and then he's your guy. And so in that space in between, we were probably not trying to look at the truth of why those relationships were so stressful in the time that they were stressful. At some point, we'd find out things about some of our guys, like someone told us something, or we saw something dodgy or something like that. And whenever we would share with the friend would be really upset, but then they would continue dating. So at first, we're 16, 17, 18. At first, we were like, if she knows he's cheating, or if she knows he said this about her, why is she still there? I would have these judgmental responses. And I think that was when my friends kind of started taking a step back and revealing less about their relationships. Because here's the thing. They knew, or rather, we knew, that regardless of what we heard about the guys, until we were ready to let go of the relationship, we were not going to let go of the relationship. So it didn't matter if we heard, for instance, like with me, he's denying you outside. I still stayed in there. Or with somebody else, I saw him talking to this girl, or I saw him with this person, or somebody said he's toasting somebody else. We still knew that we would rather be there in the relationship. That was our choice. And so whatever the truth was, it didn't matter because it wasn't going to lead to any behavioral change. There's also, of course, the fact that people say that if you tell your friend something about her husband or her boyfriend, whenever they make up, they'll turn on you and you'll become the enemy. To me, that is wild, but let's leave that for now. The point is, the fact that there was pressure, the other girls are waiting for you to cut him off or to break up with him or to show him pepper because how can he get away with it? So the other people watching are waiting for you to respond to the information, and you know that your response is probably not going to be the response they expect. That pressure led to people being like, I would rather not know. But in the post I shared on Instagram, it was about marriage. And it wasn't about a spouse cheating. It was about a spouse sharing that they have other feelings for someone else. Like, I have a crush on someone, I find myself thinking about someone, not from a place of confession in that way, but from a place of, I'm so sorry, I know this is hurting you, but I need your help to get over this. I need your help to get through this because you're my best friend, you're my partner, you're my wifey for lifey, or I don't know the husband equivalent of that, but maybe homie for home. Sorry. It then means that you have to share that person's burden, and your responsibility has to be to take on this person's thing and actually help them with it. Like when the wedding vows say, through thick and thin, in good times and in bad, till death do us part. Like, this is a bad time, and it now tests your responsibility to stick through a bad time with the person. Not like saying go and deal with it and then come back when you're done. No, you actually are saying that I'm going to be here with you through this time and take on your pain as if it is my pain on top of the pain that I already have, like as if it wasn't bad enough. But it all just made me think, this thing about knowing the truth and about having to take responsibility for the truth that you know. There's a verse in the Bible that we all know where Jesus was saying, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And then the Bible says it is for freedom that Christ set us free. Not so that we will be in bondage again to slavery, but so that we will be free enough to take up our position of authority as sons of God. But I realized that being a son of God and being in that position where you can actually say, yes, as Christ is, so I am in this world, it is a lot of responsibility, because now you cannot keep hiding under I'm only human. No, now you can also open the Bible to where it actually tells you, no, you're not only human, you are divinely powered by the Spirit of God. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. And now that Spirit has made you a son of God. And if you're a son of God, you're also a joint heir. And you know how heirs are. Heirs have responsibility. For instance, if you look at the royal family in England, they have a responsibility to act a certain way, to speak a certain way. They cannot do just everything they feel like doing. In fact, the title that they have constrains their behavior. So they can't just wake up and decide to post any picture. They can't just travel anywhere. There is a lot more thoughts that they have to put into every single thing they do. They have to be more responsible for things that the rest of us take lightly. Sometimes it's easy to also just be like, well, I'm not God, so I don't have to be responsible for everything. I can't deal with everything. I can only do what I can do. But if you now realize that the Bible also says, but don't you know that ye are gods? And it says, as Christ is, so are you in this world. I love that verse. Then you realize that actually you have some of this responsibility as well to be like an heir. And so you can't just do anything you want to do just because you are free to do it. You actually have to take more thought. So it's easier to not accept that truth. This even applies when you think about prophecy. There's been a new wave of prophecy. So people are now almost depending more on hearing prophetic words from other people than taking responsibility to develop their own relationship with God, to hear for themselves. Because once you heard from God yourself, you can't say you did not hear. If somebody else tells you something God said and you believe them and it doesn't work out, or you didn't do the right thing, or you don't even want to obey it, you can dismiss it because you can be like, yeah, the one who heard it, was I there when you were sitting down with God? But if you were the one who had developed your relationship with God, if you have that access and that position of being close to God, you cannot pretend that you don't know what you know. And so you are actually responsible to do what it is that God has said you should do. We don't want to know the truth, because in that freedom that comes with knowing the truth, we are also given responsibility. And to whom much is given, much is expected. And are we ready to be people who God can place a demand on? It's different when it's your boss who places a demand on you. It's different when it's your friend who places a demand on you. But when it is God who places a demand on you, you're like, how can I mess up? And so we would rather be ignorant about our access to God. When I was thinking about this video, I started to think about relationships that I've been in where I have chosen to not see the truth, so that I can go ahead to make the decision I wanted to make anyway. You know when they say you just want to do what you want to do, Joy, you don't really want to know. In fact, when you're asking for advice, you just want people to tell you things that will support the thing that you have already decided that you're going to do. My own truth was that I was afraid of being single again. I was afraid of coming so close, meeting someone who liked me, but it not going all the way. I was afraid that I would miss it because I told myself that I had done this before. I had made a mistake like this before, and this time around, I didn't want to make that mistake again. And so my truth was actually fear. Fear of losing a relationship, fear of being lonely, fear of making mistakes, fear of not understanding why I'm still single and all of that stuff. That was my fear. And so when we were at a point where really things were not really going the way they should, I thought to myself, oh, maybe if we become official in this moment, we will then start to, be more invested in each other. So my fear, which was the honest position I was coming from, led me to make a decision. And God's truth, if we had only taken the time to listen outside of our fears, is this: God will never impose a relationship on you that you don't want. God is always good. Everything God does is good. If there's somebody around you and the person is so nice and fantastic, but you just don't feel like you should be with that person, after you have prayed and after you have tried, you can let it go. God is not going to force you. You're not going to miss it. You're not a bad person. Even though this person reminds you of another situation in the past, they're not the same person. And so you don't have to carry the weight of, oh, that last time I messed up. This time, let me correct it. You don't have to do that. Everything God does is good. God is always on our side. God will always be with us if we lean on Him. And I only share that experience as an example of how a lot of times we don't understand that we're making decisions out of a place of fear or anxiety or pressure or external influence or what we think we're supposed to do or what we've been told is the right thing to do, rather than what God's perspective is. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. I don't want this video to go on too long, so I'm going to round up here. But I'm going to continue investigating and thinking and looking through the Bible for these Bible verses that talk about truth and freedom, the responsibility that comes with it, and what that really looks like. Remember, Jesus even said His yoke is easy and His burden is light, which means that even the burden of responsibility that God gives us is not too heavy for us to carry, because He's the one who's going to carry it for us, and it's lighter than we think. Okay, that's it for today's video. But one question before I go, please let me know in the comments, are you on team I want to know everything, or are you on team I'd rather not know because ignorance is bliss? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks so much, guys, for hanging out in bed with me today. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this with anyone who you think will benefit from it. See you guys in bed again next week. Bye.